The great council chamber on Kepler Prime was filled with worried voices. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in their floating chairs, all looking at the same troubling reports. Admiral Zektar stood at the center, his blue skin darker than usual with concern. "The humans are becoming a problem," he said, his voice echoing through the crystal walls. "Their radio signals grow stronger each year. Their space rockets reach further into their system. Something must be done." The other council members nodded. They had been watching Earth for 50 years now. At first, the small blue planet seemed harmless. The humans were fighting each other with primitive weapons. They barely understood fire, let alone space travel. But things had changed. Dr. Velnari, the council's expert on alien life, waved her forearms in the air. "Their technology grows too fast. In just 50 years, they went from riding animals to splitting atoms. This is not normal." "That's why we sent scouts," said Chancellor Morden from the Centauri systems. His voice was sharp with worry. "We needed to know what they were really doing down there. But that was the problem. The scouts never came back." Admiral Zektar brought up the holographic display. 3 ships appeared in the air above the council chamber. Each one represented a failed mission to Earth. "First was the Silent Wing," Zektar said, pointing at the sleek Rigelian vessel. "Captain Velkan took his best crew to watch the humans. 15 years ago, they had the newest stealth technology. They could hide from any sensor we knew about. The ship's image flickered and disappeared. We lost contact 3 days after they entered the human solar system. No distress call, no final message. Nothing." The council members shifted in their seats. Losing a stealth ship was serious business. These vessels could hide from entire fleets. Then came the Shadow's Edge. Zektar continued. The second ship appeared, this one bearing Centauri markings. Captain Dorval was our best spy. His ship could become invisible to both sight and sensors. They went to Earth 8 years ago. Again, the ship vanished from the display. Same result, complete silence after entering human space. The third ship was the newest and most advanced. Its hull seemed to bend light around itself even in the hologram. "The Voidwalker," Zektar said quietly. "The Andromedans sent their elite team just 2 years ago. Captain Morseth had technology we're still trying to understand. His ship could phase between dimensions. The ship faded away like smoke. Gone, all of them gone." Dr. Velnari stood up, her scientific mind struggling with the problem. "This makes no sense. Our intelligence says the humans are primitive. They use chemical rockets. They still fight with metal bullets. How could they detect our scouts, alone destroy them? Maybe they didn't destroy them," suggested Commander Pelvar from the Vegan systems. "Maybe something else did." "What else could it be?" asked Zektar. "We've checked for space anomalies, gravitational distortions, hidden asteroid fields. There's nothing in that system that could threaten our ships." The council chamber fell quiet. Each member was thinking the same terrible thought. What if the humans weren't as primitive as they seemed? "We need more information," said Chancellor Morden finally. "The humans are broadcasting into space now. They're sending messages looking for other life. This changes everything." Dr. Velnari pulled up the human transmissions. Strange sounds filled the chamber. Music, voices, mathematical patterns. The humans were actively trying to contact alien life. "According to our protocols," she said, "any species that achieves space travel and seeks contact with other civilizations must be considered for membership in the galactic community." "But what about our missing scouts?" Admiral Zektar demanded. "We can't ignore 3 lost ships, which is why we need one final mission," said Chancellor Morden. "This time, we send the best of all our civilizations. A joint task force with representatives from every major power." The idea was bold. The 3 major galactic powers rarely worked together. Their technologies, their methods, their very ways of thinking were different. But the human problem required their best effort. Captain Kilvar was chosen to lead the mission. He was a veteran of the Vegan Imperial Navy with 40 years of experience. His crew would include the finest specialists from all 3 civilizations. Their ship, the Phantom's Embrace, was a masterpiece of combined technology. It used Rigelian stealth systems, Centauri sensor dampeners, and Andromedan phase shifting. No single civilization could have built it alone. This ship is invisible to every form of detection we know, the chief engineer explained to Captain Kilvar. It can hide from gravity sensors, electromagnetic scanners, even psychic detection. The humans will never know we're there. The crew, of 12, was handpicked. Each member was an expert in their field. They had xenobiologists to study human behavior, military specialists to assess their weapons, and technology experts to understand their machines. As the Phantom's embrace prepared to depart, Captain Kilvar reviewed the mission parameters. They would enter the human solar system carefully, staying far from the planet. They would use passive sensors only, gathering information without revealing themselves. Most importantly, they would maintain constant contact with the Galactic Council. Remember, Kilvar told his crew, 3 ships have disappeared in human space. We don't know why or how. Stay alert, trust your instruments, and at the first sign of trouble, we retreat. The ship launched from Kepler Prime on a cold morning when 2 suns cast strange shadows across the crystal cities. The Galactic Council watched it disappear into hyperspace, hoping that this time they would finally get answers. But deep in space, near a small blue planet, other eyes were watching too. Human eyes, and they had been waiting for exactly this moment. The hunters were coming to Earth, but they didn't know they were about to become the hunted. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison stared at the glowing screens that surrounded him. The underground facility was huge, with tunnels stretching for miles in every direction. Hundreds of people worked at computer stations watching displays that showed the space around Earth. This place didn't officially exist. To the outside world, it was just another military base. But Jake and his team had been fighting a secret war for 15 years. "Contact coming in," called Technical Sergeant Lisa Barnes from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across her keyboard. "Same pattern as before, sir. They're trying to sneak past our outer sensors." Jake nodded. He had been expecting this. The aliens always sent scouts before making contact. What they didn't know was that humans had been tracking them since the very first ship. Dr. Alan Rodriguez walked over with a tablet in his hands. The scientist looked tired. He had been working for days to prepare for this moment. "It's definitely more advanced than the others," he said, showing Jake the sensor readings. "Multiple cloaking systems, quantum shields, and something we've never seen before. They're trying really hard to stay hidden." "Doesn't matter," Jake replied. "Katie, start Protocol 7. Captain Katie Sullivan began typing commands into her computer. All around the facility, red lights started flashing. Similar lights were flashing in hidden bunkers around the world. What looked like a normal day on Earth was about to become something very different. The alien ship Phantom's Embrace moved carefully through space near Earth's moon. Captain Kilvar felt confident. His sensors showed no sign that the humans had detected them. The primitive planet below looked peaceful and unaware. "Beginning passive scans," reported his sensor officer. "I'm reading basic electromagnetic emissions from the planet. Radio waves, television signals, primitive satellite communications. Nothing that suggests advanced technology." Kilvar smiled. The humans seemed exactly as primitive as the intelligence reports had said. Maybe the 3 missing ships had suffered accidents. Space was dangerous after all. But in a hidden facility in Nevada, Sergeant First Class Tony Chen was watching every move the alien ship made. The humans had built a detection network that covered the entire solar system. It used technology that the aliens had never seen before. "Target locked," Tony reported into his headset. "All stations confirm ready." The alien ship continued its scans, unaware that it was being watched by thousands of human eyes. On Earth's surface, what looked like ordinary buildings and radio towers were actually weapons. What seemed like peaceful satellites were armed and waiting. Dr. Alan Rodriguez explained the situation to the newest members of Jake's team. "The aliens think we're primitive because we want them to think that. Every signal we send into space is carefully designed. We make ourselves look weak and divided." "But why?" asked Lieutenant Sarah Adams, who had just joined the project. "Because Weak enemies get studied, Jake answered. Strong enemies get destroyed. We needed time to learn about them before they learned about us. The truth was incredible. 15 years ago, when the first alien scout had entered Earth's solar system, humanity had been truly primitive. But they had captured that ship and its crew. The technology they found changed everything. Human scientists had worked day and night to understand alien technology. They learned about faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and advanced materials. But most importantly, they learned that Earth was being watched. The first alien crew told us everything, Dr. Rodriguez continued. They thought we were too primitive to be a threat. They explained their entire galactic civilization, their military capabilities, their weaknesses. This knowledge allowed humans to prepare. Over 15 years, they built a secret defense network. Every major city had hidden weapons. Every satellite had a dual purpose. Every apparent weakness was actually a trap. Captain Kilvar was starting to feel worried. His ship's sensors were detecting strange energy patterns around Earth. The readings didn't match what they expected from a primitive civilization. "Sir," his sensor operator said nervously, "I'm reading quantum resonance fields throughout their orbital space. This suggests some kind of detection grid." Before Kilvar could respond, alarms began blaring throughout his ship. Every system started failing at once. The humans weren't just watching, they were attacking. In facilities around the world, human operators began the final phase of their plan. The alien ship found itself trapped in a web of energy beams and electronic warfare attacks. Its advanced stealth systems were useless against technology the aliens couldn't understand. Major Sandra Lewis coordinated the attack from her command center. Phase 1 complete. Target's shields are down. Phase 2, electronic warfare, is active. Phase 3, capture protocol ready to execute. The alien crew panicked as their ship lost power. Captain Kilvar tried desperately to send a message to the Galactic Council, but Earth's jamming systems blocked everything. "The humans," he whispered to his crew. "They were ready for us. They knew we were coming." But his words were heard by human translators who had learned the alien language years ago. Every alien transmission was being recorded and analyzed. Jake Morrison watched the final moments of the alien ship on his main screen. The vessel that had seemed so advanced was now drifting helplessly in space, its crew unconscious from the stun fields that had flooded their ship. "Recovery team, you are go," Jake announced. "Bring them in quietly." Human ships that had been disguised as space junk suddenly activated. They were actually advanced recovery vessels, built with alien technology, but improved by human engineering. They moved to capture the Phantom's embrace before anyone in the galaxy noticed it was missing. Dr. Karen Thompson, the project's chief psychologist, prepared for the interrogation of the new prisoners. The humans had learned that aliens, like humans, would talk if treated correctly. They didn't torture or threaten. They just convinced their prisoners that cooperation was in everyone's best interest. "Remember," Jake told his team as the alien ship was brought to Earth, "these beings represent a galactic civilization with thousands of worlds and billions of inhabitants. Every piece of information we get brings us closer to understanding what we're really facing." The captured aliens would spend months in comfortable facilities, believing they were helping primitive humans understand the galaxy. They would never know that their primitive captors were actually preparing for war. As the sun set over Colorado, Jake Morrison reviewed the day's success. Another alien scout ship had vanished without a trace. The galactic powers would be confused and worried. They would send more ships and humans would capture those too. Each captured vessel made Earth stronger. Each interrogated crew revealed more secrets. The aliens thought they were watching a primitive world, but actually, they were feeding information to humanity's greatest military buildup in history. The galaxy had no idea that Earth was getting ready to change everything. 6 months had passed since the fourth alien ship disappeared near Earth. In the Great Council chamber on Kepler Prime, the mood was darker than ever. Chancellor Morden paced back and forth, his usually calm face showing deep worry. "4 ships," he said to the assembled representatives. "4 of our best reconnaissance vessels gone without a single distress signal. This cannot be a coincidence. Admiral Zektar nodded grimly. Our military analysts have run every possible scenario. Equipment failure, space anomalies, hostile alien species. Nothing explains the complete loss of contact. Dr. Velnari looked up from her data tablets. We must consider that Earth harbors something far more dangerous than we originally thought. Perhaps the humans aren't the primitive species we believed them to be. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Colonel Jake Morrison was thinking exactly the same thing, but from the opposite perspective. His facility had grown enormously since the first alien capture. What started as a small intelligence operation now employed over 300 people from every branch of human military and science. Dr. Amanda Foster walked into the main briefing room carrying her latest report. As the project's xenobiology expert, she had spent months studying the captured alien crews and their technology. We've learned incredible things, she told Jake and his senior staff. The galaxy contains dozens of major civilizations and thousands of smaller ones. They have trade networks, military alliances, and diplomatic protocols that go back thousands of years. Captain Danny Miller, Earth's lead communications specialist, added his findings. Their communication technology uses quantum entanglement. Across vast distances, we figured out how to intercept and decode most of their transmissions. We're basically listening to their entire civilization. This intelligence had changed everything for humanity. They now knew they weren't dealing with just one or two alien species, but with an entire galactic community. The knowledge was both exciting and terrifying. General Patricia Williams arrived for the daily briefing. She commanded the entire secret defense network that now protected Earth. The President has approved our next phase, she announced. We're going to make contact with the galaxy, but we're going to do it our way. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of waiting for more alien scouts, humanity would reach out first, but they would pretend to be the primitive civilization the aliens expected to find. Dr. Samuel Wright, the project's chief psychologist, had studied the captured aliens extensively. Every species we've encountered follows similar patterns when dealing with what they consider lesser civilizations. They approach with caution but also with a sense of superiority. We can use this against them. Captain Rebecca Stone began broadcasting Earth's first intentional signals to the galaxy. Using equipment that appeared primitive but was actually highly sophisticated, she sent basic mathematical sequences, simple pictures, and recordings of human music and literature into space. The signals were carefully designed to make humanity look like a species that had just discovered radio technology. They included what seemed to be arguments between different human nations about whether aliens existed and how to respond to them. On Kepler Prime, the Galactic Council received these transmissions with great interest and some confusion. Dr. Velnari analyzed the signals for hours before presenting her findings. The transmissions suggest a species that has recently achieved basic spaceflight, she reported. They appear to be actively seeking contact with other civilizations, but they lack any understanding of advanced physics or interstellar technology. Admiral Zektar remained suspicious. If they're so primitive, what happened to our scouts? Perhaps, suggested Chancellor Morden, the disappearances are unrelated to the humans themselves. There could be dangerous phenomena in that region of space that we don't understand. This was exactly what humanity wanted them to think. Captain Rebecca Stone and her team began broadcasting fake internal communications that painted Earth as a planet divided into competing nations. Some of these nations wanted to make contact with aliens while others were afraid. The false messages suggested that Earth's governments were barely holding together. They spoke of wars, environmental disasters, and political chaos. The aliens heard exactly what they expected from a primitive, struggling civilization. Major Steve Parker coordinated the next phase of the deception from his position in the Atlantic defense grid. His job was to make Earth's space defenses look like the crude efforts of a young civilization. What the aliens saw through their long-range sensors were simple space stations, basic satellites, and primitive rocket ships. What they couldn't detect were the advanced weapons, the quantum sensors, and the faster-than-light communication systems hidden within these apparently simple structures. Dr. Ellen Walsh studied the alien responses to human transmissions. They're following their standard protocols for contact with developing civilizations. They're being cautious but also condescending. They see us as children who need guidance. This attitude was perfect for humanity's plans. The alien sense of superiority made them predictable. They would approach Earth with peaceful intentions, offering technology and guidance to help humans advance to galactic standards. Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Davis began deploying what appeared to be Earth's first attempts at building an interplanetary presence. Crude-looking space stations appeared throughout the solar system, powered by basic fusion reactors and defended by simple missile systems. The aliens, watching from a distance, saw exactly what they expected. Humanity was taking its first uncertain steps toward becoming a spacefaring civilization. What they didn't realize was that each primitive space station was actually a heavily fortified weapons platform. The simple fusion reactors were actually advanced antimatter plants. The basic missiles were actually planet-killing weapons disguised to look harmless. Captain Nicole Turner managed the most difficult part of the deception from her position, at the L4 Lagrange point. Her job was to make humanity's most advanced technology look primitive and unthreatening. Every human spacecraft was designed to appear crude and inefficient. Every space station looked like it might fall apart at any moment. Every weapon system seemed barely capable of defending against asteroids, let alone hostile aliens. But beneath this carefully maintained facade, humanity was building the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. They were using alien technology improved by human innovation and driven by human determination. The galactic powers, watching Earth's apparent progress with benevolent interest, began preparing for formal first contact. They planned to approach as wise mentors, ready to guide humanity into the galactic community under their protection. They had no idea that the species they planned to uplift had already surpassed their technology and was using their own goodwill against them. The hunters had become the hunted, and they didn't even know the game had changed. As Admiral Zektar prepared the formal contact mission, he felt confident that Earth represented no threat to galactic civilization. After all, how dangerous could a species be that still used chemical rockets and fought with metal bullets? He was about to find out just how wrong the galaxy could be about humanity. The massive alien ship appeared near Earth's moon like a silver mountain floating in space. Ambassador Tervek stood on the bridge of Harmony's Voice, looking down at the blue planet below. This was the moment the galaxy had been preparing for. First contact with a developing civilization. Begin broadcasting on all frequencies, he ordered his communications officer. Standard peaceful contact protocols. Let them know we come in friendship. The ship was huge and magnificent, designed to impress primitive civilizations. Its hull gleamed with polished metal, and bright lights spelled out mathematical symbols in universal language. Everything about it said, "We are advanced, but we are peaceful." On Earth, Major Steve Parker watched the alien vessel from his command center, hidden beneath the Atlantic Ocean. The ship was exactly what humanity had expected. Big, obvious, and completely different from the sneaky scout vessels they had been capturing. "They're following the textbook," he reported to Colonel Morrison. "Large diplomatic ship, peaceful broadcasts, standard first contact procedures. They think we're going to be amazed and grateful." Colonel Morrison smiled grimly. After years of studying captured aliens, humans understood galactic psychology better than the aliens understood human psychology. This was going to be the greatest performance in human history. Captain Nicole Turner prepared for her role from the space station at L4. To alien sensors, her station looked like humanity's most advanced achievement, a crude orbital platform, held together with metal bolts and powered by a basic fusion reactor. In reality, the station contained some of Earth's most sophisticated defensive systems. But for today, Nicole would play the part of a primitive human overwhelmed by the glory of galactic civilization. "Greetings, beings from beyond Earth," she broadcast using carefully modulated radio signals. Her voice was filled with wonder and excitement. "We are honored by your presence and eager to learn from your advanced civilization. Ambassador Tervek felt a warm satisfaction as he heard the human response. Everything was proceeding exactly as the diplomatic manuals predicted. The humans were appropriately amazed and properly respectful. "Greetings, people of Earth," he replied in perfect human English, translated by the ship's computers. "We are representatives of the galactic community, a fellowship of peaceful civilizations dedicated to knowledge and cooperation. We have watched your recent achievements with great interest." Dr. Kevin Martinez coordinated humanity's response from his facility beneath the Chilean desert. Every word the alien spoke was being recorded and analyzed. Every gesture, every protocol, every assumption they made was being used to build a complete picture of how galactic civilization really worked. The aliens offered exactly what Earth psychologists had predicted: technology transfers to help humanity develop faster, cultural exchanges to broaden human understanding. Most importantly, the opportunity to join the galactic community under the guidance of more experienced civilizations. "We understand that first contact can be overwhelming," Ambassador Tervek said kindly. "We offer gifts of knowledge to help your species take its next steps toward the stars." The gifts were impressive to a truly primitive civilization. Improved fusion reactors that could power entire cities, advanced electronics that would revolutionize human computing, basic gravitational manipulation that would make space travel much easier. Major Sandra Lewis studied these offerings from her position in the Technology Analysis Division. The alien gifts were indeed advanced, but they were decades behind what humanity had already developed by studying captured alien ships. More importantly, the gifts revealed crucial information about galactic manufacturing capabilities, resource, distribution, and technological limitations. Each piece of shared technology was like a puzzle piece that helped humans understand their potential enemies better. "Accept their gifts with gratitude," Colonel Morrison instructed his teams. "Act like this technology is beyond our wildest dreams. Let them feel good about helping us." The deception required perfect acting from thousands of people. Human scientists had to pretend that basic fusion technology was revolutionary. Engineers had to act amazed by gravitational manipulation they had mastered years ago. Political leaders had to seem overwhelmed by the complexity of galactic civilization. Dr. Carol Martinez played her role perfectly during the first major cultural exchange. Posing as Earth's leading physicist, she presented humanity's recent discoveries in atomic theory to a group of alien scientists. She carefully showed them mathematics that was advanced for a primitive species, but still far behind galactic standards. The alien scientists nodded approvingly, impressed by how quickly humans were learning but not worried about them becoming competitive. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Davis was implementing the most ambitious part of the deception. Under the guise of humanity's first expansion into space, Earth began building what appeared to be a network of primitive research stations throughout the solar system. Each station looked crude and experimental, like the first uncertain steps of a species learning to live in space. The aliens watched approvingly as humanity seemed to struggle with basic problems like life support and radiation shielding. What they didn't realize was that they were watching the deployment of the most sophisticated defense network in galactic history. Each research station was actually a fortress capable of destroying entire fleets. Ambassador Tervek established a permanent embassy in orbit around Earth. The facility was designed to monitor human progress and provide guidance as they developed. From his position, he could watch over humanity like a teacher watching promising students. "The humans are progressing exactly as our models predicted," he reported to the Galactic Council. "They show appropriate reverence for our knowledge and seem eager to integrate into galactic society under our guidance." The irony was perfect. The aliens believed they were carefully managing humanity's development, but actually, they were providing exactly the information humans needed to prepare for war. Every diplomatic meeting revealed more about galactic military structures. Every cultural exchange exposed galactic weaknesses. Every technology transfer showed humans how to build better weapons. Captain Frank Wilson analyzed the intelligence flowing in from hundreds of sources. "We now know the locations of their major military bases, the capabilities of their best weapons, and the political tensions between their different species. They're telling us everything we need to know to defeat them. The greatest advantage was that the aliens genuinely wanted to help humanity. Their good intentions made them careless with sensitive information. They shared knowledge they would never give to a potential enemy because they saw humans as harmless primitives. Dr. Nathan Brooks coordinated the final phase of the intelligence gathering. Using the cultural exchange programs, humans began placing observers throughout galactic civilization. These weren't spies in the traditional sense. They were humans openly studying galactic culture as part of the contact process. But these cultural observers were actually military intelligence specialists trained to identify strategic targets, assess defenses, and map supply lines. The aliens welcomed them warmly, never suspecting that they were being scouted by the very species they thought they were protecting. As the first year of formal contact ended, humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had successfully infiltrated galactic civilization while maintaining the appearance of primitive development. They had turned first contact into the greatest intelligence operation in history. Ambassador Tervek felt proud as he watched human space stations multiply throughout the solar system. The progress was remarkable for such a young species. Soon, he believed humanity would be ready to take its place as a junior member of the galactic community. He had no idea that humanity was already planning to become the dominant power in the galaxy, and that everything he had taught them was being used against his own civilization. The discovery happened by accident, which made it even more terrifying for the galactic powers. An Andromedan archaeological team was studying ancient asteroid impacts in Earth's Pacific Ocean when their deep-sea scanners found something that shouldn't exist. Commander Velthar stared at the readings in disbelief. Buried beneath what looked like a natural crater was the unmistakable hull of the Voidwalker, the Andromedan scout ship that had vanished 2 years earlier. "Bring it up. Carefully," he ordered his recovery team. "I want every piece of debris analyzed. What they found changed everything." The Voidwalker's hull showed signs of directed energy weapons using technology unknown to galactic science. More disturbing was the surgical precision with which the ship's computer cores had been removed. This wasn't the work of space pirates or natural phenomena. Admiral Zektar received the report while attending a cultural exchange on Earth. He had been watching human children perform primitive music when his communicator buzzed with an emergency message. The forensic analysis was clear. The Voidwalker had been deliberately destroyed and then studied. Dr. Nathan Brooks detected the change in alien behavior immediately from his monitoring station. "Their communication patterns have shifted," he reported to Colonel Morrison. "They're using military encryption now instead of diplomatic channels. They know something's wrong." The Galactic Council convened an emergency session that lasted for days. The evidence forced them to consider possibilities their protocols had never anticipated. Could the seemingly primitive humans actually possess advanced military technology? Chancellor Morden studied the intelligence reports with growing alarm. "The forensic evidence suggests weapons technology beyond our current capabilities, yet our diplomatic contact shows a species that appears genuinely primitive. How do we reconcile this contradiction?" Captain Frank Wilson recognized that the endgame had begun. "They're going to start looking for inconsistencies in our performance," he warned the human command staff. "We need to decide whether to maintain the deception or reveal ourselves on our terms." The decision came from the highest levels of human government. After emergency consultations between world leaders, President Martinez authorized Protocol Omega, the controlled revelation of Earth's true capabilities. The revelation began subtly. Dr. Carol Martinez was giving a routine presentation on human physics to a group of alien scientists when she made her first mistake. Instead of showing primitive atomic theory, she accidentally displayed quantum field equations that were centuries ahead of galactic understanding. "I'm sorry," she said, quickly switching back to simpler diagrams. "That was from our theoretical research. We don't really understand it yet." But the alien scientists had seen enough. The equations represented unified field theory that could revolutionize galactic civilization. How could such a primitive species even conceive of such mathematics? Ambassador Tervek noticed other small inconsistencies. Human space stations were improving too quickly. Their resource allocation suggested hidden industrial capacity. Their communication delays didn't match their claimed technological limitations. Major Lisa Thompson coordinated the carefully planned exposure of Earth's capabilities. Each revelation was designed to create maximum impact while maintaining humanity's strategic advantage. The breakthrough moment came during what the aliens thought was a routine technology demonstration. Dr. Carol Martinez was explaining humanity's latest breakthrough in energy production to a delegation of galactic engineers. Instead of the primitive fusion reactors they expected to see, she unveiled a matter-antimatter conversion system that produced more energy than most galactic civilizations could generate. The math behind it was impossible, unless humanity had been advanced all along. "These power outputs," whispered the lead alien engineer. "This would require technology we're still developing." "How is this possible?" Dr. Martinez smiled. "We've been working very hard to catch up with galactic standards." The controlled revelation accelerated as Earth began showing the true extent of their capabilities. The primitive space stations revealed themselves as advanced defensive platforms, bristling with weapons that made galactic military hardware look obsolete. Captain Pete Anderson delivered the message that changed everything during the final diplomatic meeting. Instead of the humble human representative the aliens expected, he spoke as the commander of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "We appreciate your attempt to guide our development," he said calmly. "But we've been ready for galactic citizenship for quite some time. We've been studying your civilization through the reconnaissance vessels you sent. We found their crews most informative." The silence in the diplomatic chamber was complete. Ambassador Tervek felt his world crumbling as the implications hit him. The missing scout ships hadn't been destroyed by space anomalies. They had been captured by humans who were far more advanced than anyone imagined. "The humans you've been so kindly helping," Anderson continued, "have been using your goodwill to study your technology, map your territories, and assess your military capabilities. Thank you for being so cooperative." Emergency alarms began sounding throughout galactic space as the true scope of human capabilities became clear. The primitive species had deployed weapons platforms throughout their region of the galaxy. Their crude spacecraft were actually faster and more advanced than the best galactic vessels. Admiral Zektar realized that humanity hadn't just hidden their technological advancement, they had weaponized their apparent primitiveness. Every moment of first contact had been carefully orchestrated to gather intelligence while providing none. The strategic assessment was devastating. Humanity had spent years studying galactic civilization while remaining completely unknown themselves. They had placed observers throughout galactic space, mapped every major military installation, and identified every strategic weakness. Commander Velthar, studying the wreckage of the Voidwalker, finally understood what had happened. "They didn't just capture our scouts," he reported to the council. "They interrogated them. Every missing crew member told the humans everything they knew about our civilization." The scope of the intelligence disaster was unprecedented. 3 scout ship crews had provided humanity with complete information about galactic military capabilities, political structures, and technological limitations. Chancellor Morden faced the hardest truth of all. "We didn't uplift a primitive civilization," he said quietly. "We gave advanced military intelligence to a species that was already our technological superior." Captain Nicole Turner stood on her space station, no longer disguised as primitive. Technology. The weapon systems around her could destroy entire fleets with a single command. Similar stations throughout human space revealed themselves, forming a defensive network that made Earth the most protected world in the galaxy. "All diplomatic vessels are ordered to maintain their current positions," she broadcast to the alien ships near Earth. "Any attempt to leave human space without permission will be considered an act of hostility." The galactic powers found themselves in an impossible position. The species they had come to help had become the dominant military force in their region of space. Their own diplomatic vessels were now hostages to human goodwill. Dr. Kevin Martinez addressed the Galactic Council via quantum communication. Humanity formally requests recognition as an equal member of galactic civilization, he said. We're prepared to discuss trade agreements, territorial boundaries, and mutual defense treaties. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't asking to join galactic civilization as a junior member. They were announcing their arrival as a major power that demanded respect and recognition. Admiral Zektar looked at the strategic displays showing human defensive positions throughout local space. The species that had vanished their scouts without a trace had proven themselves capable of reshaping the entire galactic balance of power. How do we respond to a civilization that has been preparing for war while we thought we were conducting peaceful first contact? He asked his staff. The answer came from humanity itself. Colonel Morrison's final message to the galaxy was both a warning and an invitation. Earth stands ready to be a peaceful member of galactic civilization, he broadcast. But we will never again be underestimated, and we will never again be unprepared. The choice of whether we become allies or enemies is yours to make. The galaxy had gained a new member, but in the process, it had learned that humanity was the most dangerous species any of them had ever encountered. The scouts who vanished without a trace had become the foundation for Earth's emergence as a galactic superpower. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready for humanity, or whether humanity was too advanced for the galaxy to handle.